Hello there, and welcome to Dreaming Minds. It is good to have you here tonight, in a moment that asks for nothing and allows the day to slowly fall away. Tonight, we'll calmly explore why everything in the universe keeps spinning, even when everything feels still. So for now, let yourself relax. There is nowhere you need to go, and nothing you need to hold on to. Just allow this journey to unfold gently, at its own quiet pace. Have you ever noticed how the universe is never truly still, and yet your body feels calm, settled, unmoving? Beneath you, the earth is turning quietly, faster than anything you could ever run. Above you, the planet is circling the sun, and the sun itself is drifting through a vast spiral of stars. And still, in this moment, nothing shakes. Your breath flows evenly. Your heartbeat keeps its gentle rhythm. The world does not blur or tremble. It simply holds you, as if motion itself has learned how to be gentle. This feeling of stillness is one of the most convincing illusions we experience. Everything that exists is in motion, layered upon motion, carried by deeper currents that never stop. And yet the mind interprets this endless movement as calm, as rest, as silence. Tonight, we step into that paradox, not to solve it quickly, but to soften into it, to let the question unfold slowly, without pressure or urgency. Motion is not always loud. It does not always announce itself with force or noise. Sometimes, it is so perfectly balanced that it disappears from awareness altogether. A river can move beneath a sheet of ice without a sound. A wheel can turn so smoothly that it seems frozen in place. The universe moves like that, not with chaos, but with continuity. And when movement becomes continuous enough, it feels like peace rather than disturbance. As you settle in, allow your body to rest without trying to understand everything at once. There is no exam waiting at the end of this story, no conclusion you must reach. This is a place for drifting, not for arriving. The ideas you hear are not meant to be held tightly or memorized. They are meant to pass through gently, like light passing through a thin curtain at dusk. The story we are entering is not about speed or force. It is about rhythm, about rotation, about the quiet persistence of turning that connects atoms to stars and stars to time itself. Long before memory, long before light could travel freely, something began to move. And once it did, it discovered that movement was easier than stillness. You might imagine the universe as vast and empty, but it is filled with patterns, swirls within swirls, circles inside larger circles. From the smallest particles to the grander structures, rotation appears again and again, like a signature written across existence, not imposed from outside, but arising naturally, as if motion is the most effortless state of all. And here is the strange part. You are not separate from this motion. Your body is not an exception. Every cell within you carries its own tiny rotations. Every chemical reaction, every electrical signal, every thought depends on movement happening in precise balance. Even rest is built from motion, layered so carefully that it feels like stillness. When you lie down at night, the earth does not pause for you. It carries you gently through darkness and light, through angles of starlight you never see. The ground beneath you spins without friction. The air moves with it. Your body moves with both. And because everything is turning together, nothing pulls, nothing tugs, nothing reminds you that you are in motion at all. Your mind learns to call this constant movement home. Safe, familiar, quiet. It is the reason you can sleep while traveling at speeds beyond imagination. The reason you can close your eyes and feel as though the world has stopped, even though it never does. Tonight we will explore why this is so, why motion can feel like rest, why turning can feel like calm, and why the universe, despite its endless activity, offers moments like this one, when nothing seems to change at all. These questions are not meant to unsettle you. They are meant to cradle you, to give your thoughts something soft to circle around. If you feel your attention drifting, that is perfectly fine. let it drift. Thoughts move the way planets do, following wide, slow paths. They wander far, then return without effort. There is no single line to follow here, only a gradual spiral inward, guided by curiosity rather than control. Notice how your breath is already doing this, in and out, a small rotation of air that has been happening since your first moment. You do not command it, you do not calculate it. It continues because it knows how. The universe breathes in a similar way, expanding and turning without instruction, without pause. This journey is not about learning new facts to repeat tomorrow. It is about sensing something ancient that has always been true. That motion does not disturb the universe. It sustains it. That stillness is not the absence of movement, but the harmony of many movements aligned so precisely that they vanish from perception. In this harmony, time feels different. It loosens its grip. Seconds stretch softly. The mind stops measuring and begins to float. You may notice that the more you stop trying to follow each sentence, the easier it becomes to stay with the story. Understanding fades into atmosphere, and atmosphere is enough. As we continue, we will ask why everything turns, why nothing ever truly stops, and why time itself seems to follow the same circular logic. But for now, let the questions remain open. Let them rest beside you without answers. Unanswered questions are lighter to carry. You are not being asked to figure anything out. You are being invited to listen, to feel the gentle consistency beneath everything, the quiet engine that never stalls, never rushes, never breaks its rhythm. The universe is moving. You are moving with it. And for this brief moment, that shared motion feels like quiet, like safety, like being held inside something vast that knows exactly what it is doing. Take a slow breath and allow yourself to drift a little further inward, carried by the turning that has always been there. And yet, there is another way to look at this stillness, not as something the universe gives you, but as something your awareness creates. Because motion is not only a physical fact, it is also a matter of perception. Your senses were never built to feel everything. They are filters, not mirrors. They evolved to notice danger, imbalance, sudden change, not smooth continuity. When movement becomes constant and predictable, the mind learns to subtract it. It fades into the background, like a quiet hum you stop hearing. Once it has been there, and not the absence of motion. It is the absence of surprise. Think of how you stop noticing the weight of your clothes after a few moments, or the pressure of the floor beneath you once you settle in. These sensations do not disappear. Your awareness simply releases them. The universe works the same way. Its motion is so steady, so ancient, that your mind no longer flags it as information. Time itself may behave like this, not as something that flows independently, but as something you sense only when change occurs, when patterns shift, when rhythms break. In perfect continuity, time becomes invisible, just as motion does. This may be why moments of deep calm feel timeless. When nothing changes abruptly, the mind loosens its grip on before and after. Past and future soften. What remains is a quiet present that feels wide, almost endless. Perhaps the universe is not rushing through time at all. Perhaps it is turning so evenly that time feels still from the inside. You can sense this now if you listen closely, not with effort, but with curiosity. Notice how this moment does not push you forward. It does not pull you backward. It simply stays, gently rotating, without asking anything from you. In this sense, rest is not stopping. Rest is aligning. When your inner rhythms match the outer ones, friction disappears. The mind stops resisting motion and begins to move with it. That is when calm appears, not because the universe slowed down, but because you stopped measuring it. This may be why the night feels different. In the dark, fewer changes demand attention. Shadows move softly, sounds stretch out, the world simplifies, and with fewer interruptions, awareness drifts closer to the steady background motion that has always been there. You are not floating above the universe, watching it spin. You are inside it, turning with it, moment by moment. The stillness you feel is not distance, it is intimacy. As you rest here, there is nothing you need to hold in place, nothing you need to control. The motion that carries galaxies also carries you, and it does so without effort, without noise, without pause. Let that idea settle, without analysis, like a thought that does not need an answer. The universe is not asking you to keep up with it. It has already matched its pace to yours. Take another slow breath and allow that shared rhythm to continue quietly, just as it always has. If you could move backward through time, not by years or centuries, but by sensations, what would you notice first? Not images, not sounds, but motion itself changing its texture. The universe would grow warmer, denser, more tightly packed. Space would feel less like emptiness and more like pressure. And somewhere along that journey, the smooth turning we now take for granted would begin to lose its clarity. The question of who set the universe spinning is often framed as a search for an external cause, a hand, a force, a moment of intent. But physics offers a quieter answer, one that does not point outward, but inward, toward the nature of motion itself. In the earliest moments after the universe began expanding, everything that existed was compressed beyond ordinary meaning. Space and time were not yet separate ideas. Energy did not flow calmly, it fluctuated. Even in conditions that appear uniform, nature does not remain perfectly still. Tiny variations arise naturally, not because something interferes, but because absolute stillness is unstable. These fluctuations were not motions in space, as we understand them now. Space itself was still forming. They were variations in energy, ripples in the underlying fields that would later become particles, forces, and structure. And wherever variation exists, rotation can emerge. Imagine a surface so smooth that no direction is preferred. The slightest unevenness, no matter how small, allows motion to begin. Once motion begins, it does not need permission to continue. It follows the path of least resistance, curling rather than stopping, turning rather than collapsing inward. In physics, this tendency is described through conservation. Motion does not appear from nothing, and it does not vanish without trace. If a system contains even the smallest imbalance, that imbalance must express itself somehow. In the earliest universe, those expressions took the form of subtle twists, minute rotations embedded within expanding space. As the universe grew larger and cooler, these early motions did not disappear. They stretched, they diluted, but they remained present, carried forward as angular momentum. The same principle that causes a spinning skater to turn faster when drawing their arms inward applies in reverse here. As the universe expanded outward, its rotations slowed, but they never reached zero. This is why spin appears everywhere we look, not because it was assigned later, but because it was never absent to begin with. Galaxies did not decide to rotate. They inherited rotation. Stars did not learn how to spin. They formed from clouds that were already turning. Planets did not randomly choose their direction. They condensed from rotating disks, shaped by ancient motion. Even light carries this legacy. Photons possess angular momentum, a built-in orientation that affects how they interact with matter. This is not something added after creation. It is woven into the structure of the universe itself. From this perspective, asking who set the universe spinning may be the wrong question. A better one might be whether the universe could ever have begun without motion at all. A perfectly balanced beginning would have produced nothing. No structure, no time, no direction. Motion did not need a trigger. It needed an imperfection. In the earliest fractions of existence, symmetry did not hold perfectly. Forces that now behave differently were once unified. As conditions changed, that unity fractured. And when symmetry breaks, direction appears. Left and right become distinct. forward and backward, separate. Rotation becomes meaningful. This breaking was not violent. It was subtle. But subtle changes in the early universe were amplified by expansion, stretched across unimaginable distances. What began as a microscopic imbalance became the organizing principle of everything that followed. Even today, traces of this ancient rotation may still be present. On the largest scales, astronomers study faint patterns in ancient radiation, the afterglow of the universe's earliest light. Within those patterns, they search for alignments, preferred directions, whispers of an original twist. The evidence is delicate, debated, incomplete, but the possibility remains that the universe remembers how it first turned. And perhaps it does not remember in the way minds do, through conserved quantities, through laws that do not forget. Spin, in this sense, is not a leftover. It is a record. As time unfolded, motion organized matter rather than scattering it. Rotation stabilized collapsing clouds. It prevented everything from falling straight inward. It allowed matter to spread, flatten, and form layers. Without rotation, gravity alone would produce only collapse. With rotation, structure becomes possible. This is why the universe did not become a single dense mass. It became diverse, filamented, patterned. Motion did not destroy order. It created it, and once established, this rotational inheritance could not be erased. It passed from scale to scale, from fields to particles, from particles to atoms, from atoms to stars. Each level carries a fraction of the same original turning, reshaped but never lost. You carry it too. The atoms in your body did not begin with you. They formed in stars that rotated for millions of years. Those stars inherited motion from clouds shaped by galaxies. Those galaxies formed within a universe already turning. When you move, you are not introducing something new. You are continuing something ancient. This is why the idea of control feels misplaced here. The universe was not spun up like a machine. It unfolded according to balance. Once imbalance existed, motion followed naturally. Once motion existed, time gained direction, and that direction has never reversed. The deeper question may not be who started the spin, but why motion persists so faithfully, why it does not decay into stillness. The answer lies in conservation. The universe does not discard what it creates. It redistributes it. Spin flows from one form to another. When one system slows, another accelerates. When one structure dissolves, its motion feeds something else. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is forgotten. This is not intention. It is consistency. As you rest here, turning gently with the planet, consider this idea without strain. That motion did not begin as an event. It emerged as a condition, and once present, it shaped everything that followed. The universe did not need a push. It needed space to turn. Take a slow breath, and allow that thought to settle. The motion you feel has been traveling for longer than memory, and it is still passing through you now. There is another way to approach this question, one that does not search for an origin point, but for a pattern of understanding. When we ask who set the universe spinning, we assume that motion requires an initiator, a before and an after. But those ideas belong to a universe where time already exists. In the earliest state, time itself had not yet learned how to flow. Causality, as we experience it, depends on sequence. One thing happens, then another follows. But sequence requires time, and time may be a consequence of motion, rather than its cause. If that is true, then asking what came before motion is like asking what lies north of the North Pole. The question dissolves when you approach it closely enough. Perhaps spin did not begin. Perhaps it simply became visible. In many physical systems, rotation emerges not because something starts moving, but because stillness cannot be maintained. Perfect balance is fragile. The smallest deviation, once present, spreads, and when expansion enters the picture, that deviation is no longer local. It becomes universal. Imagine a surface stretching outward in all directions. Any tiny curve, any slight tilt, becomes exaggerated as the surface grows. What was once negligible becomes defining. In the early universe, expansion magnified subtle irregularities until they shaped the geometry of everything that followed. Rotation in this view is not an event, it is an amplification. This reframes the idea of origin entirely. Instead of a moment when the universe was set into motion, there may have been a state where motion was unavoidable, where the conditions themselves made turning the most stable outcome. Not because the universe chose to spin, but because spinning was the only way to remain coherent while changing. Seen this way, spin is not a leftover from the beginning. It is the signature of survival. Systems that rotate persist. Systems that do not often collapse or dissipate. Rotation distributes energy. It delays collapse. It creates structure that can last. From that perspective, rotation may not be the result of early conditions, but the reason anything endured long enough to become complex. This idea appears again and again in nature. Hurricanes form not because air decides to spiral, but because rotation stabilizes the flow of energy. Galaxies flatten into disks because rotation allows gravity to gather matter without consuming it all at once. Even at smaller scales, rotation provides resilience. So perhaps the universe did not ask how to move forward. Perhaps it discovered how to remain. If motion is what allowed the universe to keep unfolding, rather than collapse into uniformity, then spin is not an added feature. It is a requirement, a condition for continuity, a way for change to proceed without destruction. This casts time in a new light. Time may not be the stage on which motion occurs. It may be the record left behind by motion that remains balanced. Where rotation persists, time has direction. Where balance is lost, time becomes chaotic or meaningless. From inside the universe, this feels like flow. From outside, if such a perspective were possible, it might look like geometry, slowly reshaping itself through rotation. And from where you are now, resting quietly, it feels like nothing at all, because your awareness is tuned not to persistence, but to disruption. It notices breaks, not continuities. It flags change, not harmony. The universe's deepest motions do not announce themselves because they do not threaten balance. They maintain it. So when you ask who set the universe spinning, the most honest answer may be that no one did. Spin is what happens when change is allowed, but collapse is not. It is motion that preserves form, and you are part of that same pattern. Your own stability depends on countless small rotations happening without notice. Your breath, your circulation, your thoughts, each one turns, distributes, stabilizes. You do not feel these motions because they are doing their job well. Let that idea settle gently, that the universe turns not because it was pushed, but because turning is how it stays whole. Take another slow breath and allow that quiet realization to remain open, without needing to close it. Without rotation, life would never have found a place to begin. Not because motion is exciting, but because motion creates balance. A world that does not turn cannot share energy. It cannot soften extremes. It cannot breathe. Imagine a planet that never rotates. One side would face its star endlessly, absorbing heat until rock glows and air escapes. The other side would remain locked in darkness, cold enough to freeze even the memory of warmth. Between them, a narrow boundary of violent change. No gradual transitions, no rhythms, no shelter for complexity. Rotation solves this quietly. By turning, a planet distributes energy instead of hoarding it. Day becomes night, night becomes day. Heat moves, cold retreats. Balance emerges not from stillness, but from repetition. Life does not require perfection. It requires stability within change. The turning of a planet creates cycles. Cycles allow prediction, and prediction allows adaptation. When sunlight returns regularly, chemistry learns when to react. When temperatures rise and fall within limits, molecules survive long enough to combine. When oceans move, nutrients travel. When air circulates, climates soften. Rotation is not a background detail. It is the engine that makes habitability possible. Even the invisible shields that protect life depend on turning. Deep beneath the surface of a rotating planet, molten material moves. Those internal motions generate magnetic fields that extend outward into space. They deflect charged particles, soften stellar winds, and preserve atmospheres over billions of years. Without this protection, radiation strips planets bare, water escapes, air thins, surfaces harden into silence. Life does not begin on planets that cannot hold themselves together. Rotation also shapes time in biological ways. Living systems do not experience time as an abstract measure. They experience it as rhythm, light and dark, warm and cool, active and still. These repeating patterns train cells to anticipate the future. Inside every living organism, clocks emerge, not mechanical ones, but chemical rhythms tuned to the length of a day. These rhythms coordinate growth, repair, rest. They tell leaves when to open. They tell bodies when to sleep. They tell minds when to slow. If rotation stopped, these internal clocks would lose their anchor. Life would not simply pause, it would unravel. This is why worlds with similar size and composition can be radically different. Some rotate quickly, some slowly, some barely at all, and their environments reflect that difference with precision. Too slow, and temperature extremes dominate. Too fast, and atmospheric forces become violent. Between these extremes lies a narrow range where balance holds. Earth rests within that range, not by accident, but by history. Its spin was shaped by collisions, by gravity, by time. It has slowed gradually, stretched gently, adjusted without breaking. This slow evolution allowed life to adapt alongside it, never needing to outrun its planet. Rotation also stabilizes orientation. A spinning planet resists sudden shifts. Its axis holds steady, seasons repeat, climate patterns remain recognizable. Without this stability, a world can tip chaotically, throwing ecosystems into constant upheaval. Life needs change, but it also needs memory. Rotation provides both. When we look outward, we see the same principle, repeated. Gas giants spin rapidly, their atmospheres organized into bands and storms. Rocky planets with sluggish rotation show signs of atmospheric collapse. Moons locked into tidal stillness lose internal heat and magnetic protection. Again and again, the pattern holds. Where rotation persists, complexity has a chance. Where it fades, systems simplify. This does not mean rotation guarantees life, but without it, life has no footing. Even at the smallest scales, the same logic applies. Molecules rotate, proteins fold through rotational symmetry. Energy moves along curved paths, rather than straight lines. Life favors cycles over lines, loops over endpoints. In this sense, life is not something added to a spinning universe. It is something that emerges naturally within one. Life is motion that learned how to last. Perhaps that is why stillness feels comforting. Not because it is empty, but because it reflects a deeper stability. A sense that countless motions are aligned well enough to stop demanding attention. As you rest now, your own body maintains this balance. Blood circulates, cells repair, signals loop. None of this requires your awareness. It continues because rotation, at every scale, knows how to distribute strain instead of concentrating it. Life did not appear in spite of motion. It appeared because motion found a sustainable form, and that form, repeated patiently over billions of years, became biology. Take a slow breath. The same turning that shapes planets also shapes you. And for a moment, everything is balanced enough to feel quiet. When we pull our view farther back, beyond planets and atmospheres, the the same truth repeats on a much larger stage. Rotation is not a local accident. It is a cosmic habit. Stars are born spinning. Vast clouds of gas collapse under gravity, but they never fall straight inward. The slightest asymmetry causes the cloud to twist as it contracts. As the cloud shrinks, its rotation speeds up, flattening into a disk. At the center, a star ignites. Around it, planets form from the same rotating material. Every orbit, every inclination, every rhythm carries the memory of that original turn. Galaxies follow the same pattern. Enormous collections of stars, dust, and dark matter arrange themselves into spirals and disks, rotating around invisible centers of mass. They are structured, persistent, and remarkably stable over billions of years. Without this galactic spin, stars would drift apart. With too much, galaxies would tear themselves open. Once again, balance emerges not from stillness, but from carefully distributed motion. Even clusters of galaxies rotate. Entire regions of the universe show coordinated movement, vast arcs of matter flowing along filaments shaped by gravity and angular momentum. On these scales, rotation is no longer something you can picture easily. It becomes geometry, curved trajectories, warped paths, subtle alignments that stretch across millions of light years. And yet, the same rule applies. Motion organizes, motion sustains. This is why the universe did not remain a smooth fog after its beginning. Rotation gave gravity something to work with. It slowed collapse just enough for structure to form. It allowed matter to spread into shapes instead of vanishing into uniformity. In a universe without rotation, time would be meaningless. Nothing would persist long enough to change gradually. Everything would fall inward or scatter outward. No stars would burn steadily. No planets would circle patiently. No environments would remain stable long enough for complexity to grow. Rotation gave the universe patience. It stretched processes across time. It allowed energy to cycle instead of discharge all at once. It turned explosions into systems, and systems into histories. When astronomers look at distant galaxies, they are not just seeing light from the past, they are seeing motion preserved across time. Each spiral arm is a record of balance held long enough to matter. Each orbit is a signature of continuity. Even the expansion of the universe itself carries traces of rotation. Space grows, but it does not forget its initial conditions. Subtle patterns remain embedded in radiation, in matter distribution, in the way large structures align. The universe remembers how it moved when it was young, and because it remembers, it continues. This is why life fits so naturally into the cosmic picture. Life does not interrupt the universe's motion, it reflects it. Years' rotation made intricate, cycles made aware, matter that learned to hold motion gently enough to notice itself. From the turning of galaxies to the turning of cells, the same principle echoes: stability through motion, continuity through change, balance not by stopping, but by flowing evenly. As you rest here, the galaxy carries you. The galaxy itself is carried by larger motions you will never feel directly, and those motions trace back to a beginning where rotation was not optional, but inevitable. Nothing is standing still. Nothing needs to. The universe remains coherent because it keeps turning. Take another slow breath and let that vast movement remain distant and gentle, like a tide too large to disturb the shore where you are resting now. Rotation does more than move matter through space. At certain scales, it begins to reshape time itself, not metaphorically, but physically. When motion becomes intense enough, when mass turns fast enough, the universe responds by bending the way moments unfold. Time is often imagined as a straight line, flowing evenly from past to future. But physics tells a quieter, stranger story. Time is not separate from motion, it is intertwined with it. And when something rotates, especially something massive, time does not remain untouched. To understand this, imagine space and time not as empty containers, but as a flexible fabric. When mass exists, that fabric curves. When mass moves, it stretches, and when mass rotates, it twists. This twisting is subtle near gentle worlds like Earth, but it becomes profound near denser, faster objects. Even here, on this calm planet, rotation leaves its mark. As the Earth turns, it slightly drags the surrounding fabric of space and time along with it. This effect is incredibly small, far too delicate for human senses, but it is real. Time near the surface of a rotating planet does not flow in exactly the same way everywhere. Motion changes it, gently and consistently. The faster something moves, the more time slows relative to a still observer. This is not a trick of perception. It is a measurable shift. Clocks moving with rotation tick differently than clocks at rest. The difference is tiny, but it accumulates, and it must be accounted for whenever precision matters. Rotation adds another layer. When an object spins, it does not merely carry time forward, it pulls time sideways, curling it around the direction of motion. This phenomenon reveals that time is not immune to rotation. It responds to it. Near objects that rotate slowly, this bending is barely noticeable. Near objects that rotate rapidly, it becomes dramatic. Neutron stars, for example, are remnants of massive stars that collapsed inward under their own gravity. As they shrank, their rotation sped up, conserving motion. Some of these stars now spin hundreds of times per second. Around them, space and time are dragged into violent motion. Paths that would normally be straight become curved, signals slow, clocks fall out of sync. Time itself struggles to keep its familiar rhythm. At even more extreme limits, rotation reshapes reality in ways that defy intuition. Spinning black holes twist the fabric of space-time so intensely that nothing nearby can remain still. Not matter, not light, not even time. Everything is compelled to rotate along with the object, as if caught in a vast invisible whirlpool. In these regions, the distinction between before and after becomes blurred. Events that would be separate elsewhere overlap, cause and effect, lose their clean order. Time becomes directional but distorted, stretched unevenly across space. What is remarkable is that this bending is not chaotic. It follows precise laws. Equations predict it. The universe does not break under extreme rotation. It adapts, even in orbit around Earth. Far from these extremes, rotation affects time enough to matter. Satellites circling the planet experience a different flow of time than clocks on the ground. Without correcting for these differences, navigation systems would drift, locations would blur, and coordination would fail. Timekeeping on Earth quietly depends on understanding how rotation bends time. This tells us something important. Time is not universal in the way we once imagined. It is local. It responds to motion. It stretches and compresses depending on where you are and how fast you are moving. And yet, from within these distortions, life continues without noticing. Your body is already adapted to the local flow of time shaped by Earth's rotation and gravity. You live inside a gently curved version of time, so familiar that it feels flat. This may be why stillness feels timeless. When motion is uniform, when rotation is smooth, time stops announcing itself. It flows without friction. Only when change intrudes does time become visible again. Rotation then does not just move objects. It organizes moments. It gives time texture. It decides where seconds stretch and where they compress. Perhaps this is why the universe feels both ancient and immediate. Time bends around massive turning structures, stretching long histories across immense distances, while allowing brief moments to feel complete and whole. As you rest now, time is not racing past you. It is flowing at the pace set by your planet's spin, your star's pull, your galaxy's slow rotation, a pace refined over billions of years. You are not outside time, watching it move. You are inside it, shaped by motion so consistent that it fades into calm. Take a slow breath. Right now, time is bending just enough to hold you gently in place, and the universe continues to turn, writing moments as it goes. If rotation shapes time, then the next question arrives quietly and almost inevitably. If spin influences the flow of moments, who, if anyone, controls that spin? At first, the question feels practical. Surely something must govern motion. Surely there must be a mechanism that keeps everything aligned. But the deeper physics goes, the less it resembles control, and the more it resembles balance. Time, as humans experience it, is measured through repetition. We count cycles, the swing of a pendulum, the vibration of an atom, the rotation of a planet. Every clock ever built is a machine that tracks motion and translates it into meaning. At the smallest scales, time is defined by the turning of particles. Inside atomic clocks, electrons shift between energy states at precise frequencies. These transitions depend on intrinsic spin, a fundamental property of matter, not a tiny wheel turning in space, but a built-in orientation that determines how particles behave. From this microscopic motion, we derive seconds. From seconds, we build minutes. From minutes, we construct days. All of it rests on rotation layered upon rotation. At larger scales, planetary spin defines the length of a day. Orbital motion defines the length of a year. These motions are not fixed. They drift slowly, influenced by gravity, by interactions, by time itself. And because they drift, human time must constantly be adjusted to keep pace. This is why clocks must be corrected, why calendars change, why the rhythm we live by is never perfectly aligned with the motion that creates it. Timekeeping is not a command imposed on the universe. It is a negotiation. Even Earth does not rotate evenly everywhere. At the equator, the surface moves faster than near the poles. This difference, though subtle, affects the flow of time. Clocks at different latitudes tick at slightly different rates. The variation is small, but real. To function in such a universe, technology must adapt. Systems that guide navigation, communication, and coordination constantly account for how rotation and gravity shape time. Without these corrections, precision collapses. This reveals something profound. Time is not controlled from above. It emerges from motion and must be maintained through attention. Spin itself is not governed by intention. It follows conservation. Once set into motion, angular momentum persists. Unless exchanged, it moves through systems, transferring rather than disappearing. When a planet slows, its momentum flows elsewhere. When stars collapse, their rotation intensifies. When galaxies merge, their spins redistribute. No central authority directs this process. It unfolds according to balance. This is why the question of control begins to dissolve. There is no keeper of the cosmic clock. There is no hand adjusting the universe's pace. Motion sustains itself by obeying consistency rather than command. At every scale, spin responds to interaction. Tides slow planets, collisions alter orbits, fields exchange energy. Nothing is isolated long enough to remain unchanged, but nothing loses its motion entirely, either. Time, in this sense, is not enforced, it is inherited. Each moment you experience is shaped by rotations that began long before you existed. The atoms in your body obey the same principles as stars. Their internal spins follow rules that have never changed. The continuity of those rules is what makes experience possible. Control, then, is a human idea, a way of coping with complexity. The universe does not control its spin, it balances it, and balance does not require awareness. It requires only that what is gained somewhere is lost elsewhere, that motion is conserved, that nothing emerges without consequence. This may be why the universe feels both ordered and free, structured, yet not directed, predictable, yet open. Time flows not because it is pushed, but because motion has not been exhausted. As you rest now, there is no need to manage this flow. You are already aligned with it. Your internal rhythms match the local motions that shape your experience. Your sense of now is calibrated by the turning of Earth, the pull of the moon, the quiet rotation of the galaxy. You are not keeping time. Time is keeping you. Take a slow breath. Nothing needs to be controlled. The universe continues to turn, and balance holds. There is a quiet relief hidden inside this idea of balance without control. If no one governs the spin, then nothing is demanding that it be perfect. Nothing is watching the clock too closely. The universe does not rush itself. Much of human restlessness comes from the belief that time must be managed, that moments can slip away, if not held tightly enough. But time shaped by rotation does not belong to us in that way. It is not a resource being consumed. It is a condition unfolding. When motion is conserved rather than commanded, the pressure to intervene disappears. Spin does not hurry. It does not resist slowing when interactions require it. It does not fear change. It adjusts, redistributes, continues. This is visible even in the way natural systems heal. When disrupted, they do not snap back instantly. They oscillate. They overshoot slightly. They settle into new balances. Time within these systems stretches and compresses until coherence returns. Your own body behaves this way. After effort, rhythms slow. Sleep itself is not an absence of activity, but a rebalancing of countless internal motions. Time feels different there, because motion has changed its texture, not its existence. Perhaps this is why moments of deep calm feel expansive. When nothing needs to be corrected, awareness stops dividing time into tasks. Seconds no longer stack neatly. They spread, they soften, they lose their edges. In those moments, the idea of control fades, and what remains is participation. You are not directing the universe's motion, you are sharing in it. Your experience of time arises because your internal rotations have aligned closely enough with the world around you to stop producing friction. This alignment does not last forever. It drifts, it returns. Like everything else, it follows cycles, and that is enough. There is no finish line for time to reach, no optimal speed it must maintain. There is only continuity, held together by balance that does not need supervision. As you rest here, nothing is falling behind, nothing is slipping ahead. The universe is not waiting for you to catch up, and you are not required to keep pace. Spin continues, time unfolds, and you remain exactly where motion has carried you to be. Take another slow breath, and let that sense of ease remain, without explanation. If the universe depended on perfect balance, nothing would ever have happened. No motion, no structure, no time. Perfect symmetry is quiet, but it is also sterile. It leaves no room for change. In physics, symmetry means sameness, the same rules everywhere, the same behavior in every direction. When symmetry holds completely, nothing has a reason to prefer one path over another. And without preference, motion cannot choose a direction. The universe we inhabit did not begin this way. In its earliest moments, everything was tightly unified. Forces we now experience as distinct were once indistinguishable. Matter and energy flowed together without separation. But as expansion continued, this unity could not be maintained. Conditions changed, temperatures dropped, and symmetry began to fracture. This breaking was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was decisive. When symmetry breaks, difference appears. Left and right stop, mirroring each other perfectly. Forward and backward become distinguishable. One outcome becomes slightly more likely than another, and that tiny imbalance is enough to set motion into motion. Time itself may have emerged this way. In a perfectly symmetrical universe, time would have no arrow. Past and future would be interchangeable. Nothing would mark progression. But once symmetry broke, sequence became meaningful. One state led more naturally to the next. Change acquired direction. This is not a dramatic rupture. It is more like a quiet tilt. A pencil balanced perfectly on its tip cannot remain there indefinitely. The smallest fluctuation sends it falling in one direction. The universe may have chosen its direction in much the same way. Once chosen, that direction persisted. From that moment on, processes began to remember where they had been. Entropy increased. Structures formed. Energy flowed from concentrated states to distributed ones. Time began to feel like movement rather than repetition. This broken symmetry is written everywhere. Matter slightly outnumbered antimatter. Particles displayed preferences in how they spin and interact. Forces behaved asymmetrically, and those preferences compounded as the universe expanded. Without them, nothing would have survived annihilation. No atoms would have remained. No stars would have ignited. No planets would have cooled slowly enough to hold oceans. Imperfection made endurance possible. Even the large-scale structure of the universe reflects this. Galaxies did not form evenly across space. They traced filaments and voids shaped by early imbalances. Gravity amplified small differences into vast patterns. What began as a nearly uniform field became a textured cosmos. Symmetry breaking did not destroy order, it created it. And once order existed, motion could be organized rather than random. Rotation stabilized collapsing matter. Cycles emerged. Histories became possible. Time, in this sense, is not a backdrop. It is a record of broken symmetry, continuing to unfold. Every moment carries the memory of a past state it is no longer equal to. This is why time does not loop effortlessly backward. The universe remembers its imbalance. It remembers the direction in which it fell. Life itself inherits this memory. Biological systems rely on gradients, differences in concentration, differences in energy, differences between inside and outside. Without imbalance, metabolism stops. Without asymmetry, growth halts. Even at the molecular level, life displays preference. Certain structures dominate. Certain orientations persist. These are not accidents. They echo the universe's earliest tilt. So when we ask whether the universe began because symmetry was broken, the answer is not simply yes. It is that without broken symmetry, beginning would have been impossible. Perfection does not generate stories. It does not generate time. A small deviation did. As you rest now, the direction of time feels natural, almost invisible. Moments move forward without question. But this ease is the result of a choice made long ago. Not by intention, but by instability. The universe leaned, and it kept leaning. Everything that followed unfolded from that gentle imbalance, including you. Take a slow breath. Time is moving because balance once gave way, and that movement continues quietly, without needing to be noticed. There is something quietly profound about the fact that everything depends on a flaw, not a failure, but a slight departure from balance. The universe did not unfold because it was perfect, but because it was just imperfect enough to move. Symmetry feels safe to the mind. It promises fairness, repetition, predictability. But in nature, perfect symmetry is a kind of silence. Nothing stands out. Nothing prefers to happen. In such a state, time has no reason to advance, and motion has no reason to choose a path. The moment symmetry breaks, meaning appears. Difference creates contrast. Contrast creates direction. Direction allows sequence, and sequence is what we experience as time. Without difference, nothing could be remembered. Every state would be indistinguishable from the last. This is why memory itself depends on asymmetry. A memory exists only because something changed. A mark was left. A pattern shifted in a universe. Without broken symmetry, there would be nothing to remember, and no one to remember it. The same principle holds for identity. Objects become distinct because they are not perfectly interchangeable. Particles acquire properties. Fields develop structure. Boundaries emerge, inside and outside, gain meaning. Even the laws of physics, which appear elegant and symmetrical, rely on small violations to function as we observe them. These violations are not errors. They are features that allow complexity to grow without collapsing back into uniformity. In this way, broken symmetry is not the loss of order. It is the beginning of layered order, an order that can change without erasing itself. Time flows because the universe cannot return exactly to where it was. Each moment carries a slight imbalance that nudges the next moment forward. This forwardness is subtle but relentless. It does not hurry, it does not stop, and yet, from within this flow, stillness is possible. Not because symmetry was restored, but because change became gentle enough to feel continuous. When differences are small and evenly distributed, the mind experiences calm. This may be why moments of peace feel timeless. Not because time disappears, but because imbalance stops demanding attention. The universe continues to lean forward, but it does so smoothly. You are part of this leaning. Your thoughts move because chemical balances shift. Your emotions rise because neural patterns change. Your awareness persists because your internal symmetry is never quite complete. Life is sustained, not by equilibrium, but by controlled imbalance. Too much, and systems collapse. Too little, and nothing happens. Between these extremes lies the narrow corridor where experience unfolds. The universe discovered this corridor early, and it has remained within it ever since. As you rest now, you are not suspended in perfect balance. You are held within a gentle asymmetry that allows breath to follow breath, moment to follow moment. That quiet continuation is not accidental. It is the legacy of a universe that learned how to break just enough to become real. Take another slow breath. Time moves forward because difference still exists. And that difference is soft enough to feel like calm. The galaxies should not exist the way they do. By every simple calculation, they spin too fast to hold themselves together. Stars near their outer edges move at speeds that should fling them outward into space, scattering them like sparks from a wheel. And yet, they remain bound, calm, persistent, whole. For a long time, this contradiction puzzled astronomers. The visible matter in a galaxy, stars, gas, dust, is not enough to explain the motion we observe. Something unseen must be adding weight without adding light. Something must be holding the spin in balance. This unseen presence does not shine. It does not reflect. It does not interact with light in any ordinary way, but it pulls, quietly, relentlessly. It shapes motion through gravity alone. This is what we call dark matter. Dark matter does not interrupt the universe. It stabilizes it. It forms vast halos around galaxies, extending far beyond what we can see. Within these invisible structures, stars orbit safely, guided by a gravity that reveals itself only through motion. Without this hidden mass, galaxies would tear themselves apart. Their graceful spirals would unravel. Their histories would be short and chaotic. With it, they endure for billions of years. Dark matter is not a force that pushes. It is a presence that allows spin to continue without destruction. It is balance without visibility. When galaxies form, dark matter gathers first. It creates the scaffolding, the deep wells of gravity into which ordinary matter falls. Gas cools, stars ignite, disks flatten, and begin to rotate. The visible universe arranges itself within an invisible frame. Even collisions between galaxies follow this pattern. When galaxies merge, their stars rarely collide. They pass through each other, almost untouched. But their dark matter halos interact, exchanging angular momentum, redistributing spin, reshaping the final structure that emerges. This process is slow, measured in millions of years, but it is steady, and it reveals something important. Spin alone does not create structure. Spin must be supported. The universe learned this early. Motion without balance leads to dispersal. Balance without motion leads to collapse. Between them lies persistence. Dark matter occupies that middle ground. It does not dictate direction. It does not choose outcomes. It simply holds the field steady enough for motion to organize itself. From this perspective, dark matter is not mysterious because it is strange. It is mysterious because it is silent. It works without announcing itself. It leaves no trace except in the way things move. Even now, as galaxies drift apart with cosmic expansion, dark matter continues to guide their internal motion. It shapes filaments that stretch across vast distances. It influences how clusters form, how voids remain empty, how the large-scale structure of the universe maintains coherence. The universe is not held together by what we see. It is held together by what moves unseen. This idea echoes at smaller scales too. Many of the forces that stabilize systems do not draw attention. They act constantly, evenly, without drama. We notice disruption. We rarely notice support. Perhaps this is why dark matter feels so elusive. It does not produce events. It prevents them. It prevents galaxies from flying apart. It prevents chaos from dominating. It allows rotation to remain gentle enough to last. As you rest now, you are surrounded by similar quiet supports. Gravity holds you to the earth without effort. Air pressure keeps your breath flowing without instruction. Countless balances operate without requesting awareness. The universe does not rely on spectacle to remain whole. It relies on consistency. Dark matter is one expression of that consistency. A reminder that what sustains motion is not always visible, not always measurable in familiar ways, but no less real. Galaxies continue to spin because something unseen makes it possible, and that unseen presence does not rush. It simply remains. Take a slow breath. The universe holds itself together more gently than it appears, and even its fastest motions rest on quiet foundations. There is something humbling about a universe held together by what cannot be seen. Dark matter does not announce itself. It leaves no color in the sky, no sound in the void, and yet, without it, the grandest structures would never have endured long enough to be noticed. This invites a quieter realization. Much of what sustains reality operates below the threshold of perception, not hidden deliberately, but simply beyond the senses that evolved to keep us alive, not to reveal the full architecture of the cosmos. We often trust what we can see, touch, or measure directly. But the universe asks for a different kind of trust. One based on patterns, on consequences, on the way motion behaves when something unseen is present. Dark matter is known not by its appearance, but by its influence. By the way stars move, by the way galaxies bend light, by the way clusters remain intact when they should dissolve. It is absence made legible through motion. In this sense, dark matter is not empty. It is active silence. And perhaps this is not so different from other stabilizing forces. The frame that holds a bridge is rarely admired. The foundation beneath a home is seldom seen. Yet without them, nothing above could stand. Stability is often invisible, precisely because it is doing its work correctly. On cosmic scales, dark matter provides patience. It slows the universe just enough to allow form to emerge. It gives gravity time to sculpt rather than shatter. It allows rotation to stretch across billions of years instead of burning itself out in a rush. This patience echoes the deeper theme of the universe. Nothing essential happens quickly. Stars take millions of years to ignite. Galaxies take billions to mature. Even the expansion of space unfolds gently, measured not in moments, but in eras. The unseen supports do not hurry. As observers, we arrive late to this story. We look up and see the finished shapes, the glowing spirals, the delicate arcs of light. We rarely see the quiet frameworks that made those shapes possible, but they are there, holding, guiding, distributing. This invites a softer way of understanding reality, one that does not demand visibility as proof of importance, one that allows for influence without display. As you rest now, you are surrounded by similar unseen balances: the steady pull of gravity, the chemistry of air, the quiet regulation of your body's internal systems. None of these ask for attention, they simply continue. Dark matter teaches us that the universe is not held together by what shines brightest, but by what remains constant. Galaxies spin because something unseen allows them to, and that unseen presence does not interfere. It supports. Take another slow breath. The cosmos is steadier than it looks, and its deepest structures are often the quietest ones. Everything alive carries a direction, not a destination, but a preference, a subtle bias written into structure itself. From the way molecules assemble to the way growth unfolds, life does not remain perfectly neutral. It leans. This leaning appears first at scales too small to see. The molecules that form the foundation of life are not symmetrical. They twist. They favor one orientation over its mirror image. And once that preference exists, it is never undone. Life builds upon it, layer by layer, trusting that direction will remain stable. This is known as handedness, a quiet asymmetry that decides how molecules fit together, how reactions proceed, how complexity can grow without collapsing. Without it, biology would stall, structures would fail to align, processes would cancel each other out. Chemistry alone does not demand this preference. In isolation, reactions often produce equal mixtures of orientations. Something must tip the balance. Something must break the symmetry gently enough for life to follow without resistance. That something may have been motion. Light carries spin, not metaphorically, but physically. Its waves twist as they travel. Under certain conditions, this twisting becomes directional, favoring one orientation over another. When such light interacts with matter, it does not do so evenly. It nudges, it biases. In the early universe, stars formed within rotating clouds threaded by magnetic fields. Light passing through those environments did not remain neutral. It acquired direction, and when that light touched simple organic molecules drifting in space, it may have quietly erased one possibility more than the other. Over long stretches of time, tiny preferences become dominant. What begins as a slight imbalance becomes the rule. Once established, chemistry follows the path of least resistance. Life inherits direction, not because it chooses to, but because the alternatives no longer align as well. This suggests something profound. Life's direction may not be an isolated accident of Earth. It may be an echo of cosmic motion, passed down through light, matter, and time. Even deeper, the universe itself shows directional behavior. Certain fundamental interactions prefer one orientation. Some particles spin only one way. Nature, at its most basic level, does not treat all directions equally. This does not mean the universe favors life. It means life favors consistency, and consistency requires direction. Once a system begins to lean, it becomes costly to reverse. Structures interlock, dependencies form, memory accumulates, direction becomes history. Life, in this sense, is not fragile randomness. It is reinforced asymmetry, a long chain of decisions made irreversible by time and motion. The spiral shape appears again, in shells, in plants, in weather systems, in the arms of galaxies, not because spirals are decorative, but because rotation distributes stress evenly while allowing growth to continue. Spirals are efficient. They hold together while expanding. They adapt without breaking. Life favors them instinctively, not consciously, because they reflect the deeper geometry of motion. And so the direction of life may be less about biology and more about inheritance. Inheriting a universe that was never perfectly balanced. Inheriting light that carried spin, inheriting matter that remembered which way to turn. You are part of that inheritance. Every cell in your body follows patterns that were set long before Earth formed. The orientation of your molecules, the structure of your proteins, the way energy flows through you all trace back to a preference that was never corrected. This preference is not a flaw. It is what allows continuity. It allows life to build forward, instead of oscillating endlessly between possibilities. Direction gives life momentum. As you rest now, notice how your own experience flows one way. Thoughts arise, they pass, sensations shift. Nothing reverses perfectly. Time does not rewind. This is not a limitation. It is the condition that makes experience possible. The universe did not choose a direction so that life could exist. Life exists because the universe chose a direction, and that direction continues, quietly, through you. There is another layer to this direction, one that reaches beyond molecules and into experience itself. The same preference that shapes chemistry may also shape awareness, not as thought, but as tendency. Consciousness, like life, does not unfold symmetrically. It moves forward, it accumulates, it remembers. Awareness does not drift equally into past and future. It leans toward what comes next. This is not learned behavior. It is structural. Every decision you feel yourself making depends on asymmetry. If all outcomes were truly equal, no choice could resolve. Action would stall. Direction is what allows movement to continue without hesitation. This suggests that the sense of choosing may be rooted in the same imbalance that gave life its molecular orientation. The universe does not wait for perfect certainty. It proceeds along the path that remains open. Even learning follows this pattern. Memory strengthens one pathway while allowing others to fade. Neural connections do not grow evenly. They reinforce what works, what repeats, what aligns. Over time, direction becomes identity. In this way, the arrow of life mirrors the arrow of time. Both depend on irreversibility. Once information is stored, once structure forms, reversal becomes unlikely. Not impossible, but costly. And life, like the universe, favors efficiency. The feeling that life moves somewhere, that it progresses rather than circles endlessly, may be another inheritance from cosmic motion. A continuation of rotation translated into growth. A spiral rather than a loop. Even rest follows this logic. Sleep does not return you to an earlier state. It reorganizes what came before, so that what comes next can proceed more smoothly. Nothing resets completely. Everything carries forward. This is why life feels fragile and resilient at the same time. Fragile because it depends on balance. Resilient because once direction is established, it reinforces itself. The universe did not grant life purpose. It granted it momentum, and momentum, once present, creates stories, sequences, narratives that feel meaningful, simply because they move forward. As you rest now, notice how awareness does not scatter in all directions. It drifts gently ahead, moment to moment. This forwardness is not effort. It is inheritance. You are not choosing direction from nothing. You are continuing one. From the earliest spin of light to the quiet turning of thought, the same preference persists. A gentle lean toward what comes next. Take another slow breath. Life moves forward because the universe learned how to lean, and that leaning still guides every living moment. Every rotation slows, not abruptly, not dramatically, but patiently. The universe does not stop moving. It stretches motion thinner, spreads it wider, softens its intensity over time. Planets lose a fraction of their spin as they interact with their moons. Stars release energy and gradually change their internal rhythms. Galaxies drift apart as expansion carries them outward. Nothing halts suddenly. Everything eases. This gradual slowing raises a quiet question. If motion is conserved but dispersed, will there come a time when the universe no longer remembers how to turn? At first it may seem so. Over immense spans of time, rotations weaken, cycles lengthen, differences blur, energy spreads until contrasts fade. Without contrast, motion becomes difficult to notice. Without notice, it feels like stillness. But this is not forgetting, it is diffusion. Angular momentum does not vanish, it migrates. It flows into wider systems, into radiation, into fields that no longer form tight structures. Motion becomes subtle rather than absent. In the far future, stars will burn out, galaxies will thin, even the most extreme spinning objects will release their energy gradually into space. What remains will not be frozen, but quiet, movement without pattern, rotation without form. In such a universe, time may still exist, but without markers, without cycles to count, without structures to remember one state from the next. Time would continue, but meaning would fade. This is what physicists sometimes describe as the long calm, not an ending, but a leveling. A state where everything has shared its motion so evenly that nothing stands out enough to change noticeably. Yet even then, the universe would not be truly still. Background radiation would drift, particles would fluctuate, geometry would retain the imprint of everything that came before. Memory would no longer reside in structures, but in shape. The curvature of space would still reflect ancient motion. The distribution of energy would still obey the rules that once governed stars and galaxies. Even in simplicity, history would remain encoded. This suggests that forgetting is not the right word. The universe does not forget how to spin. It outgrows the need to show it. Just as a calm mind does not announce every thought, a mature universe may no longer display motion loudly. It may continue quietly, evenly, without interruption. Perhaps this is what stillness truly is. Not absence, but completion. And perhaps this is why moments of deep rest feel meaningful. When motion no longer demands attention, awareness settles. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is balanced enough to stop insisting. As you rest now, you are not approaching an end. You are touching a softer expression of motion, a place where change continues, but without urgency. The universe does not rush towards silence. It drifts into it, and even there, beneath that calm surface, the legacy of turning remains. There is a difference between silence and emptiness. Silence is what remains when motion no longer calls for attention. Emptiness would require absence. The universe never truly reaches that state. As motion diffuses, it becomes harder to trace. No longer bound into orbits or cycles, it spreads into subtle variations, into background fluctuations that do not resolve into patterns, the way stars once did. Change still happens, but it happens without landmarks.
In such a future, nothing announces itself as an event.
There are no beginnings sharp enough to notice, no endings distinct enough to mark. Everything blends. Time continues not as a sequence of moments, but as a smooth condition. This is not decay in the way we usually imagine it. It is redistribution, motion shared so evenly that it no longer organizes matter into stories. And yet, even in this quiet state, the universe would not be blank. Geometry would still curve. Quantum fields would still ripple faintly. The rules that once governed bright, spinning structures would remain intact, even if their expressions grew subtle. Silence, then, is not forgetting. It is integration. All the motion that once formed galaxies, stars and worlds would still exist, just no longer concentrated enough to shape recognizable forms. The universe would carry its history, not in objects, but in proportions. This mirrors something familiar. When memory fades in the mind, experience does not vanish. It loses detail. It becomes atmosphere rather than narrative, a sense rather than a sequence. Perhaps the far future of the universe resembles this state. Not erased, but generalized. Not still, but even. Motion without emphasis. And if awareness could exist there, it might feel timeless. Not because time stopped, but because nothing changed sharply enough to feel it pass. This gives the idea of an ending a different quality. Not a collapse, not a shutdown, but a long settling into coherence, so complete that motion no longer needs to distinguish itself. As you rest now, you touch a small version of that state, a moment where the body's rhythms align closely enough that time seems to loosen its grip. Where nothing is missing, and nothing demands motion, the universe does not fall silent. It becomes quiet enough to listen. Every atom within you is still turning, not metaphorically, but physically. Electrons maintain their orientations. Nuclei carry intrinsic spin. Particles vibrate, align, exchange momentum. None of this stops when you rest. None of it began with you. Your body is not a pause in the universe's motion. It is a continuation. From the beginning, motion did not disappear. It divided, softened, reorganized. It passed from expanding space into forming matter, from matter into stars, from stars into planets, from planets into chemistry, and from chemistry into living systems capable of sensing change. In this long chain, something new emerged. Not new motion, but awareness of motion. Consciousness does not stand outside physics. It is built from it. Every thought you experience depends on the movement of charged particles across membranes. Every memory corresponds to a pattern of connections shaped by repeated activity. Awareness is motion arranged carefully enough to reflect itself. In this sense, consciousness is not separate from the universe. It is one of the ways the universe's motion becomes internally visible. You do not observe the universe from a distance. You participate in it. The same laws that govern galaxies govern your nervous system. The same conservation that preserves spin across billions of years. It preserves patterns in your mind from one moment to the next. Memory itself is a form of persistence, a refusal of motion to vanish completely. Information stored in structure, structure stabilized by repetition, repetition made possible by balance. When you remember something, you are not retrieving the past as it was. You are reactivating a pattern that survived change. That survival is physical. It requires energy, structure, and time. In this way, remembering is not so different from orbiting. Both are acts of continuity. Perhaps this is why moments of awareness feel meaningful. They are places where motion briefly notices itself, where patterns recognize their own persistence, where the universe through you becomes aware that it has been moving all along. This does not require intention. It does not require purpose. It requires only sufficient complexity arranged through stable motion. Life did not appear so the universe could be observed. But once life appeared, observation became possible, and with observation came reflection. The universe does not think in words. It does not remember in images, but it preserves its history in structure, in geometry, in motion, that does not erase itself. And through living systems, it experiences that preservation internally. You are not the universe watching itself from the outside. You are the universe folding a small part of its motion inward, just long enough to feel it. When you breathe, ancient rotations continue. When you think, conserved momentum flows through networks shaped by time. When you rest, balance holds. Nothing about this is accidental, and nothing about it needs explanation to continue. The universe does not rush toward an ending. It does not hurry to forget. It spreads its motion, shares it, transforms it into quieter forms, and within those forms, moments of awareness arise. Perhaps that is all consciousness is. Motion that has become gentle enough to notice itself. As you lie here now, turning with the earth, carried by the sun, drifting with the galaxy, nothing is being asked of you. You do not need to understand this story. You are already part of it. The universe is still moving. It always has been, and for a brief while through you, it knows that it is. Take a slow breath, let the motion continue quietly, and allow this moment to rest exactly where it is. The universe continues its turning without needing your attention. The stars move, the galaxies drift. Time flows in its quiet way. And you are allowed to rest inside that movement, without understanding it, without naming it. Awareness does not have to stay sharp. It can soften, it can widen, until thoughts lose their edges and become atmosphere rather than words. In sleep, the mind does something ancient. It stops tracking sequence. It lets patterns dissolve and reform without effort. This is not an absence of consciousness, but a change in how motion is held. When you sleep, your body does not stop moving. Breath continues. The heart keeps its rhythm. Cells repair and reorganize. Motion remains, but it no longer demands thought. This is the most natural state a living system can return to. A state where balance is trusted instead of managed. You are not falling away from the universe as you drift towards sleep. You are aligning with it, matching its slower rhythms, letting your internal motion synchronize with something larger and steadier. In this state, time loosens. Minutes stretch or disappear. Memory fades not because it is lost, but because it is no longer needed. Nothing is required to be carried forward consciously. The universe does not ask you to witness every moment of its movement. It asks only that you exist within it. And right now, existing means resting. As thoughts pass, you do not need to follow them. As sensations soften, you do not need to hold them. Everything that matters will continue, without instruction. You are safe inside motion that has carried worlds into being. Motion that knows how to slow. Motion that knows how to settle. Nothing is ending. Nothing is beginning. Everything is simply continuing. Gently, let your breathing find its own pace. Let the body become heavier. Let attention spread thin enough to disappear. The universe is still turning. You do not need to keep up with it. Rest now, exactly where you are.